why Azure is, and what is the necessity of this cloud platform itself. And those things also we'll look into it briefly.
Okay.
So as I sent in the group today morning, this is agenda. What is cloud computing and how it will solve the problems and how the earlier it was, and those things we'll look into it. And the cloud service models also, what is IaaS and platform as a service, software as a service, and this also will slip into the example. And the deployment models also will see what kind of public and private and hybrid and those things. And those things also will see an example. Yeah. Before cloud, you see, right? We are already professionals, and let's say we are in different domains, and we are working, right? Everywhere the application and the data and everything will be enterprise application. Any kind of application will be deployed onto a kind of particular platform. Either it is on-premise platform, or else cloud platform, or else hybrid platform, right? Earlier, many people were using the data center, dedicated data centers and on-premise platforms. So that will be apparent cost will come, right? For setting up the data centers and giving the space to the data center, renting, and also maintaining this power and coolants for water and everything we see. Even currently in the news also we see in Gujarat, Jamnagar, Reliance is going to put on an infrastructure data center for Meta. So it will be around some kind of crores, like 165 megawatt of power it will consume every day. And also it needs a lot of water to cool that data center and all. Everything we are seeing in the news, right? So like this, even the Meta one itself, it's approximately around some 7,500 crores or something. They are going to invest in a data center. I mean Reliance. Meta is partnering with them. They are renting their services. So that's how it is for infrastructure. So that big people, like let's Facebook is a global application. Much customer base is there, crores of people are there. That's why they can invest that much for the infrastructure. Not like startup people and medium companies. They can't invest that much amount, right? So that's why a big, we can say like disadvantage with the on-premise everywhere. You see one example. Let's say in 2005 time, if we need to buy some physical servers, it will be minimum 20 lakhs approximately for only one server. We need to give some server racks and some data center. It should be always cool that room. So those kind of arrangement, everything will be some infrastructure cost it will become. So these things are, and also we should have a maintenance also 24/7. We have to monitor that, and one admin should come to see and to update the patches. If something is not working, we need to plug in and plug out, reboot, restart. Everything is admin is required for that. So earlier time it was. So to avoid this, to overcome these kind of problems, and the cloud they introduced, we are renting some slices of resources for our applications. So that's how the whole summary and overview I'm saying. So we'll go for another slide. In cloud computing also, we are just taking some renting, right? Let's say we wanted to deploy some pure application, any kind of like a finance application or else any enterprise application, any like public application. You take some servers as a renting, storage account, networking, software, anything will take as a rent, and you deploy on top of that. When that one also, every resource, some resources you take pay as you go model. Like you see one example also, you don't invest anything on top of that. It will be like per second billing on many services. Let's say you want to take one virtual machine. So that will be how much hours you use. So that kind of, sorry, how much time you use, based on the time you will get a charges on top of that. And also we have, in advanced cloud I'm saying, we have some services are there, kind of serverless service. How much request will go on top of the serverless server? So based on the request only, the billing cycle, the billing will be charged on top of that. So that kind of system they built in the cloud as of now. Not only investing and not only buying the VMs. Even earlier, when we purchase some VM, on top of reserved VMs, we say, right? virtual machines will be some will be the pay as you go model, and some will be the rent VMs. Rent, sorry, not a rent, reserved VMs. Reserved VM in the sense you will reserve that VM for 3 years. Whether you use or not use, the charges will be same. But the charges compared with the pay as you go, the charges are will be less. Like spot instances will be there, reserved instances will be there. Spot means the upfront cost will be more on top of server also. So some differences will be there that will be discussed in that will be discussed in coming slides. Okay. Yeah. So we see the cloud computing advantages also. So pay as you go will say that you don't need to invest anything on top of your infrastructure. You directly use Azure resources for deploying your application. And also on demand and instances, right? So the creation of any resource in Azure, that will take very less time. It's kind of a 90 seconds you can create. If you go with any setup and hardware setup, it will take minimum 8 to 10 weeks. So that much we can save here in terms of time. If you wanted to deploy in any kind of region across the globe, there are around 60 plus regions are there. 1 second, please. Yeah. And elastic scaling also. So let's say there will be the spikes in the traffic in terms of on top of your application during this big billion days, or else any festival sales. So that auto scaling also, no need to do anything. When you scale the load balancing, that will be automatically increased. This is an elastic scaling we can achieve in the cloud services. And what you do, Microsoft handles hardware, power, cooling, physical security. Everything will be done by the Microsoft Azure. You only uses those applications. These are the advantages, but it will have some disadvantages also. That also will cover. And the reliability built in. Data replicated across zones. SLAs up to 99.9%. Data replication across zones in the sense, let's you consider any region. We mentioned 60 plus regions are here. In any region, we have some different zones also. Let's say we have India, one region. We consider south and the north. Those are two availability zones. When in the south data center is failure, immediately it will be the data will be replicated into the north region. The application, Azure platform will serve the application with the data from the north region. So that kind of data replication also will be available in the Azure SQL database side. So that is advantage. So because of that, you will get the SLAs. You know, SLA is a service level agreements, which will be the contract between the two software entities. We can achieve about 99.99%. Someone asked me yesterday about what is IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. This is like on-premise.
Sorry for interrupting. Probably a bit volume increase from your side. Your voice is a bit low, so maybe yeah.
Is it good now?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. If we go with the on-premise, we are doing we are checking the comparison, right? What is on-premises, IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS? If you see in the on-premise column, everything you have to manage, including the network, security, and storage, servers, and virtualization, OS, runtime, data, and application. A majority of the places, data and application only, we will manage in the cloud side. Let's say this is Azure, right? The application means the code base, what the developers will write and everything. The database means wherever we are residing our data in the databases. Runtime and OS means, let's say the .NET application, .NET 1.0. These are the runtimes. So those things and those frameworks will be everything we have to maintain in the on-premise side by our own self. If you go with the IaaS, infrastructure as a service, till virtualization, by giving the power and memory, RAM, everything will be given by the Azure Cloud Platform. Only we choose the OS, whether you wanted the Linux server or else Windows server, any kind of other server. So you will just choose the OS. On top of this virtualization, the OS will be created. On that OS, you install the required runtime packages. Like, coming to the DevOps side, you need a Docker runtime or any application, any software you wanted to install, any packages, and those things will be covered under this runtime. And the data and application will be hard to manage. Application in the sense, your application code. Data will be wherever you are integrating your database with the IaaS. So this is the Azure actually will do. And if you go with the advanced PaaS, platform as a service, even this virtual OS operating system and also runtime also will be managed by Azure Cloud itself for some services. Those services will be, like yesterday I mentioned, app service, right? Azure Web Apps. So this is example for the Azure Virtual Machine, means of a server. And this is Azure App Service. When like as a DevOps engineer, you build a code, you will generate an artifact, whether it is a tar file with Java project or kind of any package it will be generated, right? Once the build is completed, the build we will directly deploy into the Azure App Service. So where we will configure in the app service, we will have some app setting files will be there. So under the app settings, we will give the some values. Let's say in the backend side, we will give the connection string, and also some application side, anything we wanted to give the app insights and also the framework. Those things only we will mention, and everything, all the runtime, OS, virtualization, everything will be managed by the Azure only in the app service resource. This is the difference between IaaS and platform as a service. But majority of the places, some insignificant applications will be there, right? Some less security and kind of applications. When people are going with the PaaS, platform as a service, like Azure Web App. You already know the SaaS application, software as a service. Like kind of a user, you directly use their software and do your work. Let's say our Teams also one of the SaaS application. And that's this like whatever we are doing, right? Google Meet and everything is a software as a service application. So there's a difference about these three. Yeah, I prepared one example also. On-premises means you have to buy every ingredient, oven, gas, 2 dishes, and everything you have to make to prepare on pizza. IaaS means shop gives a ready pizza base, and on top of the pizza base, you do makeovers like decorations and the pizza like ingredients and also. When you take the platform as a service, this will be the pizza delivery. Pizza arrives cooked. You provide the table, drinks, and plates. This will be the platform as a service. Only a few things you have to arrange. When you go the dining out, you go and you eat and you come. This will be the software as a service. This is the difference. If you have any doubts, you please tell me.
So how about like for the SaaS one? So like in terms of customizing the applications, the data being stored, and for example, like if you have some templates there or customized one, so like can a user can export and accordingly modify the things, and how the model works actually in terms of like for example, like we have our ADN or the lab, right? So how do we authenticate into it, and just an
No, excellent. SaaS is kind of an example, right? Even Microsoft 365 is there. So that's an example coming to the SaaS wise. So I'm not getting your question actually. So that's
I'm saying like in terms of customization. So like
okay.
I'm talking practically. For example, like I've taken a SaaS service. Okay, they have provided all the services. So in case if I want to customize it, so like just in practical or a theoretical way, like what are the use cases, like how they're going to implement or add the company data into it, importing it, or customizing it. So no doubt we'll get all the complete SaaS setup and customizing those. Yeah. So that is where I was asking.
Okay. So as a customer, you wanted to like use one application, right? How it will be then a backend. That's what you wanted to. I mean, architecture-wise, you're asking, right? Let's say you're an user. You are going to access some application with your requirements. Let's say you are in India, right? Maybe you are part of. Imagine you are in a part of South India. Okay. So you will be here and you use the Azure resource. You are accessing the application which is hosted in the Azure. So when you do any request in the browser, the request first go into the Azure front door. You know what is front door? It is one kind of a CDN, content delivery network. So the request will route from the CDN to the front end application, wherever your application is deployed in the Azure web app. I mean, architecture-wise, I'm telling. So this is how this is. Yeah, from the front end side, front end web app, that will transfer to the request will transfer and get from the backend database.
Okay.
In between the front end and back end, you will call with the APIs.
Okay. So those things should be connected will be covered in the networking part, right?
That is not about the networking. That is about the application flow only. Networking means it will come under the an isolated virtual network. So entire this application, entire this resources I mentioned, right? Whether one cloud CDN will be there, that will be the Azure front end. That will be the outside of the virtual network. The request will go into the CDN, content delivery network. From there, that will be transferred into the virtual network first. From the virtual network, that will go and identify the Azure resource where the application is hosted. That is, let's say we hosted our application in the one web app. So the request will be transferred to the front end first. So from the front end to back end, we'll have some API connection will be there. So through that, the API, it will call the back end. From the back end we will configure this connection strings like SQL connection string and all will configure in the app settings. So from there, it will go to the database. The data will be fetched and back into the front end. That will be displayed into the browser. That's how it should work architecture-wise, any SaaS application also.
Got it.
We will have some implementations and makeovers also, kind of Azure Cache we can implement. And also we can implement the Azure API gateway for displaying, for monitoring, and also to avoid the failures. And many things we can do customization wise, I'm saying.
Got it.
If you have any specific thing, then we can discuss more on this, on top of this.
Please continue.
Yeah, these are the deployment models. Public means any cloud provider will come under the public, Azure, AWS, and GCP. So in terms of Azure, you just Azure, AWS, or GCP, we just take a rental basis only, right? Everything, any resource we take on kind of a rental basis. If you go to the private cloud, so that is completely on top of our on-premise again. Some strict sectors like a defense sector, or else any country, any secret and country data is there. So definitely they'll go for the private cloud. And some finance banks also, they're dedicated on-premise they will use. Hybrid cloud in the sense, for doing some cost cutting, for cost minimization and better scalability, many of their hosting and databases will be, data residency will be in the on-premise, and this application load balancing and auto scaling, those will be majority of the people are doing in the cloud platform level, because that will be easy and that will be effectively working. Like recently, once we got an AHA platform, and AHA platform is there. It's a kind of Amazon Prime like that. There we can see web series, this and all. One cinema hero, like they are given some interview. So at that time, immediately more spike is came. Prabhas, right? So more spike is came. Definitely, that crashed actually application while that interview. So that kind of scenarios they wanted to avoid. So people are go with the better auto scaling and better scalability, elastic scalability. So that, I mean, excellently we can achieve in the cloud only if we compare with it on-premise. So why Microsoft Azure means the globally.
So nowadays, organizations are using multi-cloud as well. So not only dependent to a single cloud provider, but they're having mix
Correct.
of a cloud environment like AWS and Azure together, or Azure and GCP together. So if Azure is down, the applications are still up on AWS or GCP.
Okay. That's correct only. That's, not about the down and up. If you wanted to maintain this up only, up in the sense, down and up means technically we call as reliability.
Right.
So you wanted to achieve the reliability, then you go with the, I mentioned, right, auto scaling, and also you can go with the load balancing, and also you can go with the data, disaster recovery, failovers. We have multiple ways in any cloud, not only in the Azure, not only in the GCP. All the three places we have multiple methods. So that when we choose something like the multi-cloud, that is based on the requirement only. You will see some different features, and a cloud function will be here, and the GCP also some things will be better. Some people will compare with the price wise, and some they will go quotation level actually. Even recently, I mean last 1 year back, I went through one project. There it will be, I work with the government actually. So the cloud provider was Azure only. Azure and GCP also was there. So they were, entire cloud is maintaining by Accenture, project and application, data center, everything as a DevOps part we are taking care. And only the cloud providing and cloud services are giving by Accenture. So that contract is by the Accenture, and the only application contract is by the Cognizant. So sometimes the things based on the billing, and sometimes, availability and a specific region, that also I agree. If you go with Azure itself, Azure UK West and UK South, two regions are there. In the UK West region, we don't have multi-availability zones. You wanted to host your application in the UK West. If you go with Azure, you can't get the availability zones. Then you should go for the other cloud provider, right? Cloud provider, right? That is the requirement. You are clear right now?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Why Microsoft Azure means globally the Azure places number 2 as of now. Still, AWS is placing number 1, and the number 2 is Azure. If you come with the Azure geographical features, there are total 60 plus regions in the Azure side, and all the big companies and big Fortune companies are using Azure services only. The majority of the migrations are on top of Azure because of some advantages are there in terms of the security, in terms of the this hybrid connectivity, in terms of this pricing method, and many customizations and AI implementation. Everywhere you see in the Azure cloud, the Microsoft Copilot you can see there. So that kind of features are there in the Azure. So that's why people are migrating. In many places you see login with in logging. Let's say your organization is going to implement some application like Azure Grafana, Azure Prometheus. In terms of giving the credentials, username and password, you log in with Azure, log in with Azure Active Directory, like that you will implement, right? So that Active Directory, majority of the companies will use the Azure part only. When AWS also having some Cognito, AWS Cognito is there. But that is not that much comfort and friendly to implement. So many of the places we use about the Azure AAD, Azure Active Directory. So this kind of features are there. That is, that's why you mentioned native fit with Active Directory and Microsoft 365 and Windows Server, and most Indian IT companies are Microsoft shops only. Hybrid leadership also we can mention, right? Let's say you wanted to connect with our on-premise network, on-premise cloud. You use the Azure or Azure stack to let enterprises keep some workloads on on-prem, and biggest differentiator was versus AWS. And generally, when you open anything as a user in the Azure, we heard about the tenant. You join as an employee in any organization. If they provide you an account, right? So they will add you in one tenant, actually. So if you open your Azure account, you see in the right corner on top of your name, I will open my thing. I'll show you here. You see, I just created an account here actually. You click on, you just place your cursor on top of this. You see your name and also the default tenant ID. Directory is there, right? Default directory, and that is ID. That is tenant ID actually. So any user can be added into one tenant. So that tenant will have multiple users and multiple users we can say, and where we can manage our Azure resources for our projects. And also we see the hierarchy, what exactly come and what those things also. So under the tenant, we will create the subscription. Subscription means it's a billing boundary. All the resources will be created under one subscription. Though under subscription also, we will maintain the resource groups. Under the resource groups, the resources will be there. And these resources again will be created into the multiple regions. ARM is the Azure Resource Manager. So these things I will show you simply in the cloud portal directly without any confusion. If you go in the ARM, it won't come like that, Resource Manager. You see, this is the backbone of Azure Cloud. If you wanted to deploy anything in Azure, if you wanted to, let's say you do one click also here, that click will go into the backend, right? This resource manager will consume that API request, and that will give the requested detailing or else requested deployment also. Every request will go to the backend Azure Resource Manager. You see the hierarchy also under the organization. You see service groups and management groups and subscriptions, right? Management group is nothing but you wanted to, in a single management group, you wanted to, like I can say, in a single Microsoft account, you wanted to manage multiple projects. How you can do? That will be some basic question interviews also. How we can do? You have a project A, project B, project C. 3 projects will be there. You wanted to maintain a code. How you can do? Means we will go and create 3 management groups. Under the management group, we will create the different subscriptions again. I wanted to create management group A, management group B. It should be like that. I'll create 3 management groups for 3 different projects. Under each management group, again I will go and create one separate subscription. That subscription, if I open this subscription again, we will create the resource groups actually. There is one more option, right? When we click on the resource groups, we create a resource group actually. The resource group will be created under the subscription again. Let's say I wanted to create a group for the QA resource group. And the region I wanted to select is South India. Then I can go and create here, review and create or something like that. This will go create under the, if I go on, this is created, right? When this request also will go to the Azure Resource Manager only. If you see, in the notification, everything will be displayed here, all the notifications. The resource group is creating the go-to resource. This also will show directly. If you wanted to check all these things, you should go to the activity log. You see what all the activities are going, what is the request, everything will be displayed here. It's now showing. Management group is now. Yeah, actually it should show here. I will see. Wait.
Try to change the timestamp.
It's last 6 hours only, right? I just created now. Maybe it's not refreshing or something like that. Sometimes it will take some time. That also one thing. When you go and do some changes in the Azure front-end side, that will take 15 minutes of time. So the time frame also we have to concern in the Azure. I will check this. Maybe something it indicate or something like that.
Try this log analytics. Okay.
Sorry?
Check in this log analytics.
Yeah, needs integration that. Simply it won't come. You know, app insights, many things will be there. Not only that, activity log, alerts, issues, metrics, logs, and likewise many options. You know, if you go with the insights, you see application insight, and many things you can see the options also here. Yeah, we'll discuss on those things, features and all. Yeah, now we go on to the topic again. Yeah, you got clarity right now. What is tenant, under the tenant, what is subscription? And also one more thing is not here, management group. Management group will be with respect to the different projects also we can go. And sometimes with respect to, like when we go on divide the network and data is separate. Data, one management group is for data, one management group is for network resources, one management group for different like what you can say, computing resources. Likewise also some organizations will do. Based upon it's like complete isolation only. Even for building also it will be isolated. Are we good now?
Yeah, so then just for understanding, so basically whenever we go for Azure services, so the primary thing is we'll get the tenant ID first. So that is like every organization has a unique tenant ID which will be provided. So based on that, we'll create multiple subscriptions. Then you're saying like based on the subscription, multiple subscription, we assign to particular resource group. That is hierarchy, right?
Correct. That's
okay.
This is correct hierarchy only.
Okay. Because I heard there was question for one of our friend. So keeping one subscription, can I use like for multiple projects? So something like that. There was question. Yeah.
You can go for it. That's what I'm saying. You can go for it, but you can't isolate, right? Let's say you are having 3 projects in a single subscription. Project A is coming how much, project B is coming how much, project C is coming how much, where you can reduce the cost optimization, which project is consuming more resources, which is consuming less resources. That plan based, because of that only, they divided the subscription. You can go, that's not a limitation.
So per tenant, like is there any max cap wherein like you can create only particular subscriptions? I mean in the numbers I'm talking about. So for example, I'm taking one tenant. So like is there any restrictions like I need to go with only specific subscriptions or the numbers?
No, nothing like that.
Yeah. Okay. Fine.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, this also you can say hierarchy. Under the management groups, you can see group of multiple subscriptions and applies policies organization wide. And those things will cover into the security side. Policies and what are the users, roles and everything. Subscriptions also, building and access boundary. People, this is, let's say for dev and production also, usually we will maintain separate subscription. Why? Because we wanted to plan the budgeting, cost budgeting and cost planning also, right? Cost optimization thing will be there. Now, one more thing. Now we are talking about DevOps, and one more thing also maintaining like FinOps in some companies. Let's say I told you, right, in Accenture, and there is one team, FinOps team. So during the planning, application planning itself, they will plan this many resources should be used for this application. As a DevOps engineer, we go sometimes you implemented a Dev and QA and staging environment. Somehow your QA environment is not working. You did some troubleshooting, so then you wanted to go for some extra test environment or like extra test VM or app service. Like that, you want one more thing. You wanted to go and create something in the cloud. It won't create because it will be restricted by the ops team. So again, you want to go. You have to escalate or you have to go a request with FinOps team, and you need to get some approval. Based on that only, you will get the provisioning will be happening in the backend. So likewise, the budgeting and the planning also very concerned in the bigger projects where the cloud is happening more. So likewise also we'll create the resource groups, my application, dev, RG, like that. RG means nothing but resource group. And resources, VMs, storage, database, VNets, everything. Everything will be the resource. I told you that yesterday. Just create one free account actually. That will be very helpful for you. And you just...
So free account, do we need the credit card for that?
Any Visa card or something like that, it will ask. It won't cut like for that first 30 days, it will be free only.
Because I don't have any credit card, so what is the other way, like I can use it or create an account, free account?
No. It will ask some Visa card or something, not only credit card, even debit card also fine. MasterCard or Visa card, some types are there. Please check there, so it will display. You just type this portal.azure.com and log in or sign up or registration, something like that, it will come. You go on to check that.
When the creation part is already done?
Which one?
The portal account creation is already done. You have covered already. Creating account.
Account creation, no, I did not cover anything. It's normal thing only, registration only. It's a step by step you will get.
Okay.
Yeah. This thing we already majority of the same dashboard, search bar, subscription, cost management. Those things we just now see here, right? This is how like it is saying. This is the home where you can see all the resources. This will be displayed like this. If you go into the subscription, you can see your subscription like this, and you can see how much the resources you are using, how many virtual machines you have, network users, virtual machines, and it will display everything here. So I'm not using anything. This is a free account. That's why it is showing current cost and forecast account. If you see any organization account, you just click on Azure subscription, and click on top of that. It will show everything: spending rate and forecast. Both current cost. Let's say this is July 10th, right? Till for this 10 days, it will show as a current cost. Forecast means based on the proportionately. For 10 days, it will happen this much. Proportionately for another 20 days, it will be like this. It will forecast. Cost by resource, how much like one pie chart will come here. How much the virtual machine is consuming, how much database is consuming, how much other resources are consuming, like that it will be displayed. And this is something like this. It will show, it will be look like this. Yeah, there's such any apps, any service you want to just go and search here. You can see like this. And you see, I mentioned, right, integration. Everywhere you can see Copilot integration. If you have anything, you just got some error here. You just copy that and paste here. You'll get. You just ask, I wanted to create something. I wanted to create VNet. Give me steps. One more like I can say explanation, and I can say, let's say Copilot is integrated is under the same Azure portal, right? You know how it will be integrated? We are almost a system admins and Linux admins, right? So you see the protocol, TCP and UDP protocols will be there, right? For connecting and accessing onto through the port to another sub application like that. Let's say this Azure is one application and Copilot is on another application. So for integrating these two, they are using MCP protocol. Using this protocol, they are integrating with this, and they are, connected. They're using this protocol only. They have integrated like this. Not only this, I'm just saying that even majority of the companies, people are integrating all their applications using the MCP protocols. So that is why, because like TCP and UDP also there are some better advantages with MCP protocol. That's why people are using that. Even in my organization also, MCP is used for the Datadog. And also one more thing, what is that? Figma for content developers. And one more thing is Jira also. They are configured all this in the backend. You know, the Jira will have some API will be there, and that API will be integrated with that protocol. And that will be again, they will download one extension in the Visual Studio, and that will be integrated with the Visual Studio to the Jira. Whenever they wanted to do some work in the Jira, they will simply give one prompt in the Visual Studio in the Copilot. So this is my Jira. You just update the Jira that I have done this application and explain everything. So like that, they have integrated their Jira thing in the Visual Studio through this MCP protocol, and they're updating everything in a single prompt. So that's effectively the people are doing now. You see, this one also given. I just sign in into this and create a resource group and create a virtual network, and those documentation part also it will show. If you click on this, we will go with the official documentation. Create a resource group and everything it will display. First select your subscription, then resource group, and the region, create. Once it is created, you have different other things. What is subnet date, name, starting address, subnet size, and these are the things. Yeah, this is about this. Yeah, this thing we have discussed. Let's go for other things. You know, the cloud is physical only, right? Let's say we are using on a rental basis, but cloud data centers on Earth only across 60 plus regions that we discussed. So as you mentioned here, every VM you create runs on a real server. So they are having some physical servers, but they are giving for rental basis. So approximately there are total 300 plus data centers are there on Earth. They are on server racks and everything, all infra they are managing. I mean, if you think in their Azure perspective. So as a DevOps engineer, we have to choose based on the security, based on the cost optimization, based on our application needs. we will select and we will use to develop our applications. So generally, if you think in the inside data center, what we will have, server racks will be there, where we place our server racks, and the networking will be there, redundant fiber and multiple internet service providers, and Azure private global backbone connecting every region. So those networking connectivity, everything will be there in the each data center. Cooling and security, industrial cooling, biometric access, 24/7 cards, and you can never visit one. So this much of hardware requirement will be there for every data center. In terms of, I'm just giving an example. Recently, I gone through this Jamnagar data center only. So that data center is required 165 megawatt. Just imagine 165 megawatt means how much it will be the power. In our home itself, we will get around 100 to 200 units per month. Units in the sense that will be kilowatts only, kWh like that. Megawatts in the sense how much the data will be consumed. To cool that much of heat it will produce, they are using seawater there. Not directly seawater, they are filtering that seawater and they are using again to, coolant that data center. So that much mechanism they are doing in the backend. If you go with the statistics also, America, China and India, so America is contributing around 43% of data centers across the world. If you go with the China, it is contributing around 35%. If you think about India, it is just contributing 1.35% of data centers across the globe. So that much we don't have any infrastructure. So we are just in the news recently we have seen. One is an agreement between the Meta and Reliance. And other thing will be the Adani and Google in Andhra, in Vizag place. So those things we are seeing, right? You can see these are the statistics. 300 plus data centers will be there and 60 regions will be there and miles of private fiber. Now the fiber and everything will be optical fiber. Those will be transferred into the seas actually from one country to another country. So everything will be managed by the Microsoft. Every resource you deploy asks one question, which region, like that. A set of data centers deployed within a latency defined perimeter connected by a dedicated low latency network. In the sense when you are in India, you need to select the surrounding resource regions only. Then only the latency will be different. Latency will be less. Let's say you developed an application. You wanted to see who are accessing your application in the Azure front end actually. So how many people are accessing from Australia? How many are accessing from America? How many are accessing from other distant countries and from India? The Indian guy, let's say the application is hosted in the South India. The South Indian guy can access the application in around 110 to 120 milliseconds. The Australian guy or American guy will access your application like 500 or 600 milliseconds latency will be there. So because of that, we will choose because of that only we'll choose the specific geography region actually. So nearby regions like that we will choose. That's why dedicated and low latency network. Yeah, geographic area like Central India, Pune, containing one or more data centers. A region is not one building, it can several data centers working as a one unit. Every resource creation asks for a region. It's usually the first drop-down. You just see here the region name will be Central India, location will be Pune. Primary choice for Indian workloads. South India, Chennai location. DR means disaster recovery phase for Central India. West India, you see Mumbai. Limited services, specified needs. I mean the data center is not that much elaborated or that much facilitated. You see East US, Kenya USA, largest region, new services first. West Europe, Netherlands, EU workloads are GDPR. And Southeast Asia, Singapore, APAC hub, any this Pacific region applications you wanted to post, you can go with this one, Southeast Asia. So these are the things. If you are in the Indian application, more Indian customer base will be there. You just go with the Central India basically. That also will choose. That one I mean, I think Gaurav asked, right? Why multi-cloud we will go sometimes. So based on this reason only. Let's say there's a limited services are there in the West India. You are in the West India, you have some concerns or limitations in the Central India region or something. You don't want to use that. Then you go for another cloud provider. That's kind of a multi-cloud provider usage. How to choose a region? 5 factors. One is latency, close to users it should be, faster the app, and compliance, and RP and data residency rules may require data stays in India. Oh God. And service availability, and pricing and capacity. See, some regions restrict the new deployments and during high demand. Means some auto scaling will not be there, load balancing will not be there in some regions. So those things. Based on that, we'll choose the region. And cost difference. And this is the thing. This also we see, right? Create a resource virtual machine, region drop down, scroll through the first, print out zone 1, zone 2, 3. This also we'll see. And this is the server tier, we can say. What is D4, D4S V5, pay-as-you-go model. And if you same VM virtual machine and different prices. In the East US region, there will be $140. Central India, it will be 170 as a baseline. West Europe, it will be 185. Brazil South, it will be 230. The differences also will be there with respect to the region for the same server. This is the tier of the server. You can see the check latency yourself. Open azurespeed.com in a new tab. It pings every Azure region from your location. Watch you can just take one screenshot and check from your laptop. Actually, my charge is going to complete. I don't have a charger. I just take one screenshot. I just check from your laptop actually. azurespeed.com in a new tab. It pings every Azure region from your location. That will show from Azure South India, Central India, how many milliseconds it is showing. Everything it will show. That is about the regions. You know, these availability zones.
Yeah, Gaurav, I believe laptop might be off, I believe.
Right, his laptop got shut down. We can drop, we'll see in the group chat. Okay, he's back.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear.
Will be discussed tomorrow. So, any questions, you please tell me. I will discuss on top of that.
As of now, we are good because unless we go through practically and other things, I think that is where the doubts will come in.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.